This is KUGAN CASSIUS for iFull TV in association with MTK Global. It's Friday morning, brunch.
Yes.
Brunch.
10:41, Friday morning, Friday the 9th of Feb. Bit of a off the cuff, really.
Yeah,
Little
random.
phone call last night. What you up to tomorrow? In the office, Coop? Let's do a little piece.
Do a little bit.
No idea what we're going to talk about.
Just roll with it.
Where
We
do you
can
want to
talk
start?
for an hour and a half on the train,
I'm sure we
which
can
was a
talk
winner,
for an hour.
about Wethershill windows. Did they get in touch?
No, they haven't been in touch. I'll tell you, got in touch today. Really nice letter today. From someone I used to play football with. They sent me a couple of photos.
What, of you playing football?
Oh, can you pick that up on there?
Go on, hold it on. I'm looking for the tallest one. No, you're there, aren't you?
With a ball, yeah. Look at that.
Wow.
Very
Collector's
nice. So
items.
shout out to Lawrence Pulford, who was a keeper.
Should we do something at the end where you give that away, signed?
No. I was so bad at football, but I tried so hard. I just had zero speed. My old man used to say that I used to turn like an oil tanker. He used to actually tell me that when I was playing. It's good for the confidence.
Do you know we've played football together?
At Orient. You just got the clip of me missing that goal.
What was the purpose of that? I really don't remember.
That was Matcham v Southend. I think that was for Froch Kesler, wasn't it? Or was it Froch Groves?
No, Kessler it would have been.
Yeah, Froch Kesler.
Yeah. Interesting times.
I'd just like to say one thing on that. I got these pictures today. I'm guessing I'm 8, 9, 10, something like that in those photos. It's 28 years ago. Enjoy your life. Cherish your youth. Because that life go quick. Don't you ever look at your life and think, like, how old are you now?
36.
36 and sort of think, 36, 38. Before you know it, we'll be 50, 60.
Dead.
Oh, mate.
Well, but that's how quick life
I know,
goes.
so enjoy it.
Obviously, we just spoke for a few minutes after Okolie-Chamberlain. And slight bit of a backlash about the fight itself.
Well, there's always backlash in everything we do, isn't there? So if a fight doesn't live up to its expectations, of course, it's just prime meat for the haters to jump on it and say, disgrace, what a disgrace. Should never have been allowed. Like, everyone was so excited about the fight. Everybody presumed and believed that the fight would be a fantastic fight. I can't, if it doesn't turn out to be a fantastic fight. But I was actually having a conversation with someone the other day and they said, well, you're not to blame, are you? How can they blame you? I said, no, I probably am to blame. I put it on. So if it doesn't, it's not my fault, but if it don't work out and it's not as the fight that people hope, yeah, you have to blame me. I know you're looking a bit bemused, but I'll put the fight on. So if a fight is brilliant, I get the credit. If it's shit, or shit's a bit harsh because it was just average, I get the blame. All right? Don't have a problem with that. What gives me the hump is dinosaurs like Jeff Powell from the Daily Mail coming out saying this is a disgrace. People really have to look at themselves here. It was a complete mismatch. What? Jeff Powell didn't even bother to go. So it's amazing to think that someone who probably didn't even watch the fight, might have had it on TV, he was probably at another promoter's villa that he uses quite frequently, wants to criticise Okolie-Chamberlain, us and Sky, for creating an event that gave two young fighters the opportunity to challenge for a title for a lot of money in front of 8,000 people at the O2. And he calls it a mismatch. Yet before the fight, not one person, not one pundit could confidently call the result of that fight. Yet now all of a sudden it's a mismatch because Okolie won easy. Was Pacquiao versus Mayweather, a mismatch. He won it easy. I had him hardly losing a round. But it's, that piece from Jeff Powell was a disgrace. Disgrace. You want to accuse young fighters, you want to accuse promoters and broadcasters of trying to make the fights. When we made that fight, the praise was unbelievable. Oh, I can't believe you made that fight so early in their career. They're both putting on their line. That's exactly what boxing needs. Then all of a sudden, the fight was average. Oh, they should never have fought each other. I mean, it was much too early. I mean, why did you do it at the O2? I mean, it was a mismatch. Fucking moronic.
But as you said earlier, when you put on these events and you get the praise for it, it's all well and good. But when things don't pan out how you want, is it fair for you to just accept that then? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my fault, but I have to take the responsibility. I mean, the fighters, in my opinion, were poor on the night, and I think whether Lawrence thinks that or not, Lawrence still put in a good performance. He was very strong. He controlled the fight, but he was poor in many aspects of that fight. So was Isaac. So do you blame the fighters? At the end of the day, they're getting in there. They're putting everything on the line. So I don't think you can really blame them. I built the fight up because of the animosity between the two, because of the hype, because of the interest. It grew and grew and grew. It swelled. Of course, Sky are pushing the fight because people are interested in the fight. And then it doesn't end up being a classic. And then all of a sudden, how can that fight be a headline fight? How can it be at the O2? How did that sell 8,000? And why did you even put this on? It doesn't work like that. It was a good night of boxing. Unfortunately, the main event wasn't what we hoped it would be. I actually said to someone, I can't remember where it was now, in the build-up, it was like Thursday or Friday at a press conference, it was like, I can't wait for this fight. I said, can you imagine if it's a stinker? And they went, it can't be. There's no chance this fight's going to be a stinker. And it was, again, not a stinker, but it wasn't a great fight at all.
Has Saturday taught you anything about future matchmaking things?
No.
If that makes sense.
My job is to put on the fights that people want to see, put on the fights that are competitive, that are 50-50 fights, and of course, as a promoter, that are going to fill arenas and deliver TV ratings. That sold 8,000 tickets, that delivered TV ratings, that provided the fans with a fight they wanted to see, that had two undefeated young prospects in a 50-50 fight put together. And people might say, well, maybe you should have done it at the O2. Well, you know what? We sold 8,000 tickets, so maybe we fucking shouldn't have. I'm sorry, it wasn't the classic that we hoped it would be. But as I said to you, I was sitting there after about 8 rounds going, thank God this ain't a pay-per-view fight. Because then, obviously, that's when you're under more pressure. And I can't tell you enough, when there is a pay-per-view fight or a pay-per-view night, I'm sitting there and I'm praying is a strong word, but I am really hoping that these fights deliver. Because I'm selling it to you, I'm charging you, and it's on me. That's a Sky Sports 1 show last week, so it's not pay-per-view. It was a solid night of action from 7 o'clock, some great undercard fights, some great performances. Unfortunately, the main event wasn't a classic. But when you're on pay-per-view, you're just hoping that every fight is a classic. Because of course, you want the pats on the back, you want the positive responses from the fans. I don't want people saying, that fight was shit, can't believe you put that on, oh, you're not delivering value for money. I want people to say, Hearn, that was the bollocks. Keep going, son. Oh, worth every penny. Loved it. But unfortunately, it's sport. When Man United play Man City or Arsenal play Liverpool, sometimes it's a 0-0 and sometimes it ain't a great game. We can't help that, but I also understand that because of my position, I have to take the blame. It's not fair, but who cares?
When you're sitting there and you're thinking, thank God this isn't pay-per-view, are you also thinking, I hope one stops one because that could kind of save the fight?
Not really when you represent both guys. I mean, after a while, you put them in, and then after 6 or 7 rounds, it's hard for me because I'm not shouting for Lawrence, I'm not shouting for Okolie. Normally, if, say, I just had Lawrence in that fight, I would be shouting, Lawrence, stop falling in. Walk him onto a shot, hold your feet. But, obviously, and For Isaac, it might be, I don't know, box bigger or stop falling in low or whatever. But I'm not hoping for someone to not. I'm hoping for action. That's what I'm hoping for. After a while in that fight, I'm hoping for action. And the first round was really exciting. And the 10th round was quite exciting. And the rest was very average. So was it that the styles didn't gel? Was it that one was poor or both were poor? Or it was too early? Or did someone freeze in the occasion? I don't know. But it's irrelevant now. It's over.
Other highlights, could you pick out some from the
Ted
rest of the
Cheeseman.
show?
Ted Cheeseman against Carson Jones was a great fight. I thought Ted boxed really well. You've got to understand, he's 22 years old. And Carson Jones is tough, but so is Ted. Really tough kid, fit as a fiddle, and going to be a really interesting addition to the light middleweight division. Eventually, hopefully, on the world scene. But for now, keep being in big fights. It's a good division. Seems like probably 2 or 3 years ago there was half a dozen divisions that actually weren't that great domestically. Now there isn't one that isn't great domestically, and light middleweight was one of those divisions. But now you've got some really good fighters: JJ Metcalf, Byfield, Cheeseman. Of course, up the top end you've got Kell, Liam Smith, Liam Williams. You've got Sam Eggington now in the fold as well. So it's a really, really strong division. I thought Joshua Buatsi was just, every now and again you watch a fighter, everybody who left that arena just said, or watched on TV, just said, wow, we just watched someone special. And there'll be much tougher tests to come from Buatsi, but it's just the way that he does it, the way that he goes about his work, his balance, his shot selection, little things like, it's like he's playing out the fight in his mind. Does that make sense? You see him just, tiny things. Just when he goes to throw a shot, you know, the guy might just move his elbow and he just switches the angle of his wrist to hit the target. Just small things. And probably struggle to meet a nicer guy, and probably struggle to meet a more vicious guy in the ring. You know, it's quite a strange switch, isn't it? You know, because he's a man of God. I remember when he came to the Next Gen show, the Katie Taylor fight before Christmas, there was a woman outside, and she was asking for money, homeless, I think, and someone told me that Buatsi, she went to Buatsi and asked him for money. And he asked her what for, because I think he was more concerned she was spending it, you know, elsewhere on something she shouldn't be. And she said, I just need some food. So Buatsi took her to a restaurant in Bethnal Green and fed her. And then missed the first couple of fights and then came back and came to the show. And that's the kind of person Joshua Buatsi is. Yet, when he goes in the ring, he completely switches. And then as soon as the fight's over, he switches back. Have you noticed? So he's laying there, bang, bang, bang. And he wants to absolutely KO the opponent. As soon as the fight stops, go over. Are you okay? Do you notice? Sort of does all that. Really interesting character. What a fighter. What a fighter. Again, what a light heavyweight scene right now. Frank Buglioni fighting Callum Johnson. Great fight. Buatsi, Burton, Yardy.
Yard.
I keep saying, yeah. Yard.
No.
Yard. Really, really good setup at light heavyweight as well.
We'll come on to that in a bit. Obviously, at the O2 the other day, it was IFL porn with the people there,
Like
and the
Charlie
potential
Edwards.
situations.
Yeah.
Not even talking about the.
I saw the one with Josh and AJ and.
Yeah, what did you make of that little clip? Because I know it was short and it was a little bit. Could read between.
Do you know
the
what?
lines,
Actually, what happened was, when we was doing the seating plan, Frank come to me and he said, Dillian's coming and AJ's coming. Like, where shall I seat him? It's a bit awkward, isn't it? So I said, look, put AJ there, put Dillian just there in the second row. And when Josh came in, but I think the seatings end up being, like, people end up moving seats a little bit in the second row. So Dillian was basically right behind AJ in the second row. So when AJ walked in, I didn't notice, but he actually leant forward and he shook the hand or something of Dillian, but I didn't realise it was Dillian. So he sat down, and then I saw the stuff about at the end that you showed when he talked about fighting, and they shook hands. And he texted me after the show, AJ, it was probably about 1:30 in the morning, said, I shook Dillian's hand tonight. And he said, that will be a great fight. Number 2 will be a great fight, or something like that. And I said, yeah, tough fight against Lucas Brown. And he just said, yeah, but like, I can't tell you how much AJ wants the Dillian Whyte fight again. And it's so strange that you've got a guy who is the unified heavyweight champion of the world, and soon to be undisputed, who wants to fight the guy who he beat and calls him out. You know, it's just an interesting dynamic, you know. Normally it's the other guy. Like, Dillian's not really out there going, I want AJ. Of course he wants to fight him. But AJ's consistently saying to me, I want to fight Dillian Whyte. He loved that fight. He loved it. He loved the build-up. He loved the madness. He loved the tear-up. And I really hope, you know, I believe those two will fight again, but I really hope that somehow we can get it for a unified title, but we'll see. But he's got to get past Lucas Brown. It's a tough fight. Tickets are flying, March 24th, 02.
We had Tony Bellew there, David Hay there as well. I don't think Chisora was there. Joyce was there. Yeah, anything on the Chisora? Because obviously we did that little clip.
No, I mean,
David Hay
again,
and Joyce.
I think Hay wants Joyce to fight Chisora. It's a bit of a tough one, really, and just being totally honest. For Chisora, since losing to Kayable for the European title, it's like last chance saloon stuff. Do you know what I mean? So, if he loses to Joe Joyce, which I think he beats Joe Joyce, but that's it, you know? So the plan for Dillian is to come back with a good solid fight the plan for Derek is to come back with a good solid fight on the Dillian Whyte card, March 24th. And then really it depends on the offer. Like Derek said, if the money's right, I'll fight you. But what's his perception of the right money? That hasn't been discussed yet.
Rumours of Takam as well.
Takam's in the mix. Could be Chisora Takam for May 5th. That's a great fight.
Will he fight on both bills?
Chisora?
Yeah. So if he's fighting...
He's definitely fighting on the Dillian Whyte card. Not definitely fighting on May 5th, but subject to agreeing person, opponent, yeah. But March 24th will be a good solid fight, and May 5th's the gamble.
That card on May the 5th, from your side, obviously David's going to be putting...
Joe Joyce.
Yeah, his fighters on, but from your side, who's going on?
So we're looking at potentially, like I said, Chisora. If you don't fight Joyce, maybe Takam. I'd quite like to do Yafai and Edwards on that card. Cal's not, you know, it's a bit of an awkward one really, because I guess, and I understand what Cal Yafai is saying, which is, look, you know, I want to move forward and fight the big names in the division. I don't want to fight Charlie Edwards. But at the same time, it's a domestic world title fight between two guys that don't particularly like each other.
Really?
Did you spot that? But and that, I don't think that stems from, like, they haven't hated each other for years. It's just that, yeah, Charlie has pissed Cal off because he's doing his head in, and Charlie is snapping at his heels, and Charlie's doing a good job. I don't think Charlie hates Cal, but he's really annoying Cal. And actually, I look at it now and think, I think that, you know, if Cal's going to fight a guy who is, I don't know, top 10, top 15 in the world, and, you know, you haven't heard of him and some of the fans haven't heard of him, or would you rather see him fight the British super flyweight champion Charlie Edwards, who is going to wind him up? I think any time there's a chance to make a domestic world title fight, I think it's good news. Others on the card could be Jamie Cox, could be Rocky Fielding, actually could be fighting each other. Looking to make Martin Ward against James Tennyson as well, which is a good fight. Boatsy could be on the card. Conor Ben could be on the card. The guys have just got a meeting with Haymaker this morning, actually, to talk through it.
So how many of them fights are yours?
I think we'll have 4 or 5 on, and Haymaker will have their guys on. I think Hay wants, obviously, Joe Joyce, Willie Hutchinson, and Michael Page, I think. So.
Okay. Bellew. There's obviously all this stuff about Andre Ward.
Yeah.
Potentially coming back. I mean, I don't know how much of that is actually true.
Yeah, I just think. I mean, I speak to Ward's guys a little bit. I spoke to Virgil Hunter the other day because he's got a guy over sparring with AJ, and obviously he's got Amir Khan as well. I just literally in passing said, listen, you know, if Hay pulls out of this fight, Andre can step in. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, so it could be a good reserve for that fight. I think Bellew has a great chance to beat Andre Ward at cruiserweight. And probably most don't agree with me because Andre Ward is, in my opinion, pound for pound, if not the best fighter, one of the best fighters in the world. I just think when Bellew's in the ring at 15 stone plus, Andre Ward is a super middle who creeped to light heavyweight. It's a massive jump in weight to give away. And I know Tony would be the underdog, but I would love to make Bellew against Andre Ward. And I believe Tony Bellew will beat David Hay on May the 5th, and I would like to make the Ward fight after. For Tony, we kind of looked at the Hay fight in March 2017 now, was looked at as one of his last fights. And when we made the rematch, it was like, this could be my last fight. He's completely gone 360. And he's now talking about 3, 4, 5 fights left in the game. He wants to fight Usyk, which is a great fight. He's got to fight Gassiev, which I favour Gassiev in that fight. But again, these fights are brutal fights. I mean, Bellew Hay is a brutal fight for Tony. Usyk is a brutal fight. And the Ward fight, in my opinion, is not brutal. There is a chance he could be outboxed by Andre Ward, but I don't see it as a real brutal fight. And then, obviously, other heavyweight fights as well. Again, you know, when I was talking to Tony about fights the other day, he mentioned a few names. You know, even Dillian Whyte's name came into the mix, which is a fight previously that he hasn't really looked at. But I just think Tony loves it. He loves to fight, and I think he realises that he is one of the biggest names in British boxing, and there are big fights out there for him. I think he feels physically great, so he don't want to retire yet.
I mean, talking to me the other day, he said we were going through the names of potential fights because he's always quoted as saying that he would fight certain fighters, he wouldn't. I mean, he's categorically
he won't fight AJ.
Joshua.
Yeah. And I don't think that he'll fight Wilder. But I think anything else goes in the heavyweight division.
Fury, you said.
Yeah, Fury.
So it's not necessarily about size then. It's what
Fury's. Look, these guys hit like trains. Joshua and Wilder hit like trains. Fury does not hit like a train. He's technically very good. He's not a puncher. That's the difference in that fight. You know, to move from light heavy to cruiser and then fight a massive, two of the biggest punchers in world boxing, which is Joshua and Wilder. That's another level. So, but he feels like he could beat Fury. He'd love to fight Fury. I'd love to make that fight. Could make that fight in summer.
But is it all dependent on what happens May the 5th? Of course.
You can never look past the fight like that. But we believe we're going to win the fight. And if we do, there are plenty of options out there for him. If we don't win the fight, then we look at, we take stock and see where we are.
There is a huge fight next week.
It's come around quick, huh?
Obviously, you're not involved. Are you involved? You're always involved somewhere.
No, I'm involved with the WBSS as a consultant, but I'm not involved in the promotion of that show, no.
Okay, just checking. But it's a brilliant fight, isn't it, between
Really good fight.
Groves and Eubank. And obviously we've got Callum Smith and Bramer fighting the week after in Germany. But how do you see that going next week?
I've sort of gone a little bit 360 on it. I fancied Eubank to win. It's just a question mark of how good Eubank is, because the problem I have with it is I watch Eubank sparring, and I don't mean any disrespect to his sparring partners, but they're all like, he doesn't bring in any top sparring. Okay? When he's hitting the bag or that machine that he hits, or there is no... Ronnie Davis is a great guy, a great trainer, but he doesn't really listen to him, and he doesn't really have a huge input. So it worries me that there's no plan or sort of mentor in that respect, top trainer guiding him and working closely with him. So when you step up the levels against someone who has a very intelligent boxing mind, like George Groves, and whose trainer has an intelligent boxing mind, like Shane McGuigan, I just think the tactics will be spot on to beat Chris Eubank. And I'm not sure Eubank has any tactics other than outwork him, out-hustle him and out-punch him. But I felt like initially Eubank would just be too much for him, just overwhelming with work rate. But George Groves punches very, very hard, and he's not the same fighter he was when he boxed Froch, but he's still a world-class fighter who punches very hard, and he's bright. So, in answer to your question, unless Eubank Jr is the real deal, I think George Groves will win the fight. But it's out there for Eubank to prove that he is what he says he is and what his dad says he is. If he is a very special fighter, he'll beat George Groves. But if he's not, it worries me that, you've got Billy Joe, for example, who again is someone with an excellent boxing mind. Some people have... Billy Joe has natural talent, and he wasn't even really fit for that fight. And I'd say he won easy because he half-gassed down the straight, so he gave rounds away. But do you know what I mean? It was quite easy for him to deal with Eubank Jr. But I do believe Eubank's improved since then. It's all there for Eubank to show he's a star, And I hope it gets a big push next week, because it is a big fight, and it's a good fight for British boxing.
What have you made of all this stuff on Twitter, mainly about... Obviously, George Groves has come out and said he's disappointed with
I haven't really seen any
some of the comments that Eubank Sr has made.
And what was the comments?
I think it's just the stuff that Eubank Sr is saying in reference to it's kind of that warning, to protect
of what he did to Blackwell.
Yeah, there's references to the Blackwell fight, which are still being brought up, and everyone's
at the end of the day,
jumped on it this week.
At the end of the day, I saw the reference to what, but I don't know actually what he said. If he is making warnings to Groves in reference to what happened to Nick Blackwell, it's disgusting. But what's the point in even giving them advice or telling them how to behave? Because they're never, Senior's always going to do his own thing. And they fluked it with the tournament came around at a time when they were at a complete dead end in their career. And the tournament's been great for Junior. It's paid him a lot of money, paid Senior a lot of money, and it's given them a good platform. So they've got very lucky. But again, you look at when you manage and you promote a fighter. Of course, you guide him in the right direction, but commercially, you build him in a way that makes him a superstar. You align yourself with brands that can push your profile and your exposure. Like Chris Eubank Jr., he doesn't have one sponsor or one partner. I saw maybe he's got a coconut drink or something like that, but he he has it, you know. Forgetting the fighting, he has it. You know, he looks great. He's a good example physically. He carries himself well. You know, he could be that inspiration, that ambassador for the sport for the next generation coming through. But the work on the profile is so poor. And I just, you know, they're not. But Senior will never accept that. He just thinks, no, we're doing an unbelievable job. My son is a superstar. My son is the next Floyd Mayweather. People don't realise if you don't get built on the way up, you never reap the rewards at the top. I've signed fighters who have been with other promoters who it's so difficult because they've been built incorrectly or they haven't been built at all. So they can never get the paydays at the top end that they're worth or they desire. Because you have to be built from the ground up. It's not just a process of you jump in when a fighter's a world champion and start trying to change their profile. Yes, you can do it, but you can't turn it around in time to make them that box office fighter. But make one thing straight, if Chris Eubank beats George Groves, he becomes a pay-per-view fighter, unquestionably.
In your opinion, if he was still fighting under your banner, where is his career and profile now?
Depends what would have happened in the Golovkin fight. I mean, remember one thing, they asked me to make the Golovkin fight. I didn't go to Junior and say, you should fight Golovkin. They said, we beat Golovkin easy, make that fight. I made that fight. That was there. The truth is, they didn't really want that fight, so they didn't sign for the fight. So, again, where would he be now? I don't know. But his profile would be 20 times the size that it is now. But again, the Yildirim fight was the performance where I thought, might be the real deal, this kid. But we'll see next week. That'll be because Yildirim's Groves. You know, you can't compare Yildirim to Groves. And again, I'm not saying Groves is still what he was, but he's a very good fighter and he's got a very good brain and he can punch hard. So we'll see.
It's been a good, well, better than good success this tournament. It's been
good.
really
Yeah.
perceived well, and you've got the cruiserweight finals unbelievable.
Really
with
good.
Yusuf
Yeah.
and Gassiev, and the two semi-finals, obviously potential final, hopefully between Callum Smith and the winner of those two.
I think the two weight
huge.
classes they selected first time around were really perfect. I had a meeting with Calla 2 days ago, talking about the new weight classes. It's going to be tough to replicate the success of the super middles and the cruisers, especially when you alternate weight classes and maybe in weight classes where they're not, you know, there aren't as big a names but the good thing is it will enable, hopefully, with the selection process, the best to fight each other. And that's what you want in boxing. It's a really hard job what they're doing because you're so active all the time in so many different events that you're not really being able, if you don't have the infrastructure, to build specific events in the way they should be. Does that make sense? So, like for example, Groves-Eubank has been quite quiet at the moment. It will obviously build up next week and become big, but normally you would have a 3 or 4 week strategy, promotional strategy, going into a fight like that. So at this stage, you'd expect it to be massive, and it will, you know, really become big next week, but it's not at the moment. But it's very difficult when last week you were in Russia doing Gassiev against Dorticus, and the week before, or 2 weeks before, you were in Latvia. Do you know what I mean?
How does it compare to the Super 6?
I think the format is much better because it's happening faster. Like the Super 6 was too disjointed, and then there was injuries. Where they've been really lucky is no injuries, touch wood. Yeah, I know. So because the final was on June the 2nd or June the 3rd. Yeah. So really, you finish your fight at the end of Feb. If you're boxing on June the 2nd, you've got to start your camp at the end of March. So you have got 3 weeks rest, or 4 weeks rest tops, before you start your next camp. If you get cut or if you get injured, the final can't take place on June the 2nd. And that's when the tournament starts to break down. So touch wood, you can roll through. Because one of the attractive things for a fighter is to say, you're boxing September, February, June. But when you're in the elite fights, the tough fights, the heavy duty fights, it's difficult to get the turnaround. Luckily, Gassiev and Usyk were okay physically. So they have a couple of weeks off, back to camp. So, like all things, the first season is you learn the lessons, what's worked, what hasn't. You know, I think financially, were the purses too high? Were they fine? Did we spend too much on production? How does the business model look? How much money did we lose at the first two? And then you streamline it, you redefine it for the new series. So how much, you know, is the purses going to go up, down? Are we going to spend less on production? I would think yes to both of those, because the model won't work on the numbers that have happened for this series, but it's been a success and they have a good brand to build on moving forward.
There was a new concept, announced last week involving Ricky Hatton, Paulie Malignaggi and Anthony Crolla. I'm sure you would have seen it. Ultimate Boxer, which seems the obvious reference is to Prizefighter.
It's exactly the same as Prizefighter,
okay.
but half the money.
So what did you make of it? Obviously, Prizefighter worked for a long time for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not angry that they've ripped off Prizefighter. We're not doing Prizefighter, so it's a format that worked. They've halved the prize money, I think, that we had for Prizefighter. Fine, each to their own. I'm sure many promoters would be going, it's a rip-off, it's a con, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Prizefighter was good though. I mean,
it was good. I think this will be good as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference is that we had some sort of, we'd always throw in 2 or 3 names or big prospects into Prizefighter. But I think they're talking about this is going to be a new look or something, is it?
Yeah, I think it's
they're going to have a DJ or something.
Based on like entertainment branding, and it was explained the other day. I mean, Ricky Hatton, Crolla and Malignaggi are kind of the ambassadors behind it. So we'll see.
Again, there's no problem copying Prizefighter because it worked well. So,
would you never think about bringing it back just for old time's sake?
It wasn't. It was starting to get up again. It's one of those things where you do Prizefighter for so long, and people are like, "Get rid of Prizefighter, Hearn. It's shit now. It's past its sell-by date. Blah blah blah." And I thought, you know what? Maybe you're right. Prizefighter was there to drive the casual audience back into the sport. Did a great job. Delivered on every level. Just became tired, and Sky started to realise that it's a bit like 2020 cricket. You bring in a casual audience into the sport, and then once they're in, you need to educate them. And I feel like once that casual audience came into the sport from Prizefighter, we educated them about championship boxing. And they didn't want to see Prizefighter anymore. They wanted to see championship boxing in big arenas, in big matchups. So Prizefighter felt like it become dated. We stopped doing it. Will we do it again? I'm not sure. Maybe like a one-off, but I'll have to check with Boxer XXX, whatever that thing.
Ultimate Boxer.
Yeah. Good luck to him. Good luck to him. No problem. It's not. I'm not bothered. Good luck.
Well, I wasn't asking you if you was.
No, but you were like goading me to say,
absolutely not.
do you have the hump that they've ripped off your concept?
Absolutely not. No, I never said that. I never used them.
The answer is no, I don't.
They're doing their thing. I just wondered what your thoughts on it, because
I wish them all the best. I wish them all the best. I think it's a good opportunity for. I think the money's a bit small. Is it you get $2,000 if you lose in the first? You get $2,000, $4,000, $8,000, $16,000.
I believe so.
And we were 4, 8, 16, 32.
Now, last week, obviously your fight wasn't the most watched fight of the weekend.
No. YouTube having it.
KSI and Joe Weller.
Yeah.
I was just starting to read Matt Christie talk about it in the boxing news, but I literally read the first couple of paragraphs and then I was summoned in by you. So I didn't read all of it. But what did you make?
That one.
That one. Yeah, just.
What did I make of it? I found it really interesting. You've got two guys. I mean, you have to understand, like, the numbers on YouTube are huge.
Ridiculous.
Huge.
Yeah.
You know, because it's your bag. So, whatever they do, they could wake up in the morning and have a dump and film it, and they'd hit, what? I don't know. Million?
Yeah. Millions.
So, whatever they do, they've got that natural audience. So, what impressed me more wasn't really the numbers, was the crowd. And I think they had 7,000 in there paying 60 quid a ticket or something. So that impressed me more. Because who is the audience? People say it's the kids.
There was a lot of young people.
Yeah, because it started at 4 o'clock, didn't it, or something like that. So I don't really know enough about it. It's not, I guess I'm too much of a boxing enthusiast to think that, like, I've been pitched loads of celebrity fights or fighters coming back who used to fight, and it's not really. Look, I love a pound note, but it's not really in my heart. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I could. And I know people think I'm just a whore, but I don't think I could stand up there and sell and be a part of that. And I think the event they put on and the way they did it was brilliant, and it was really smart. But I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
But listen, I'm not saying this is going to be a one-off event. But if
No,
we take,
how can it? It won't be a one-off event because they've made money. So, mate, they'll be planning the next one. Now, this isn't going to go away. The danger is that, and actually, I did watch a bit of the fight. I mean, it wasn't like, obviously they're not boxers, but it wasn't. Sometimes you watch a white collar, and it's awful, isn't it? But it wasn't. You know, they're obviously trained hard. They're in good shape. The danger is that it dilutes the sport of what we're trying to do, which is put on the best matchups and the World Boxing Super Series. You know, all of a sudden, this sort of overtakes it, and then because what's going to happen now is you're going to have, like, I mean, if you boxed someone, right? Bearing in mind, like this video we do now, we'll do 150,000, 200,000, something like that. Yeah. So if I boxed you on YouTube, I mean, how many would watch? Millions, wouldn't they? It'd be easy for us to do 1 million views. Easy.
Yeah, but I think it's more to do with the platform it was going on for a start, because he's got like 70 million subscribers.
But that's why. Hold on, this must be important.
Take over. Pick that up. Is that Al Heyman?
No. I mean, their platform is huge because of the subscriber base they've built. Yeah. But same with. I mean, you're poor man's KSI, aren't you? So
I'd take that.
Yeah, but still. Like if you boxed, I don't know, this geezer Heavy D, and you put that on YouTube, it's going to do big numbers.
But me and you does
massive.
I'd think about putting that on pay-per-view.
I said to AJ the other day, could you imagine, like, how many buys do you think AJ v me does?
More than Takam.
More than. How much would people love to watch me get sparked by AJ? That is a massive pay-per-view. So, and of course, it's a farce.
So you're applying that concept to what we're watching. What I'm saying is,
just it doesn't have to be a great contest, sporting contest to sell. So, but the danger you have now is, again, and I look at like, I liken that to Eubank Ben fighting now, right? People have come to me for that fight. People have come to me for Ben Collins. It doesn't sit right with me. Will people watch it? Fucking right they will. Will they buy a ticket? Yeah. But, you know, there's things you've got to draw a line, haven't you? Again, I love to be involved in big events, love to make money, but some things don't sit right with me. And KSI against Weller, whilst I admire what they did, it don't sit right with me. Could I make money out of something like that? 100%. Easy work. But it's like...
Do you know, for example, you put part of the fights on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about putting the actual night on Facebook and seeing what kind of numbers they got? Because I think them numbers wouldn't they be better than your TV numbers?
Yeah, and that's actually, when you look at, when we do our undercard fights, a fighter will always moan because they want to be on Sky or they want to be on TV. But sometimes the Facebook numbers, specifically over a certain period, will be bigger. The difficulty is how to monetize those numbers. So, of course, the way to make the most amount of money on a fight is on pay-per-view, okay? Then you have rights fees. So it's all very well doing 1 million views on Facebook. How do you monetize that? The advertising policies have changed. The revenue isn't what it was, as you know. And so therefore, there isn't really the model in place. If I didn't have a TV deal, I would just be looking at Facebook as my platform and other social platforms as well for my fights.
If you were just interested in sole numbers, just getting out to the maximum audience.
Yeah, but it's not just about fight night. It's about having a broadcast that's behind your business, your fighters, their profiles. Do you understand? So everything that you have to do around those platforms is created by your machine, and you don't get the help of a powerful broadcaster. That's the difference. So if there was a way to monetize the numbers and make sure they were producing the numbers for the fighters, and I do think that in probably 2 years' time, maybe 3 years' time, the way that people digest their content will change. Maybe people are watching more on Facebook and on YouTube for international sporting events. Maybe OTT platforms are taking the lead. The world of television is changing. But right now, we're I couldn't be happier of where we are. But we're always watching. I mean, I'll give you an example. When you go to something that's easily quantifiable is in terms of sponsorship value. If you've got a sponsor, I think JD Sports sponsored KSI, to show them the numbers that's delivered, I'm sure they were over the moon. So in terms of sponsorship, that's a way to quantify it, but unfortunately it's not going to bring in the numbers that you need to make sure that you have the security of staging a show and making sure everyone gets paid.
But is it a bit of a, I'm not going to use the word prestige thing, but there is something about, regardless of whether it's being watched somewhere else, about boxing being on the TV as opposed to the internet at the moment.
Yeah,
this may change.
Yeah, of course.
And it probably will change.
Fighters don't want to be on YouTube. They don't want to be on Facebook. They want to be on a linear broadcast. So they want to be shown on Sky. They want to be shown on Channel 5. They don't want to be online. Because, like you say, it's the perception of being online. And sometimes I might say to a fighter, yeah, but more people are going to watch you on Facebook at that time than they would if you were on Sky. I'd rather be on Sky. And that's because not everyone understands how people are digesting live sport at the moment, Again, it's like these OTT platforms coming in, that sit along iTunes, Netflix, Amazon. Amazon have bought the rights for the ATP World Tennis. Alibaba in Asia are buying an incredible amount of live TV rights. So that one day you'll be watching the cricket and some guy will go for 4 and then it'll go, bing, buy this Slazenger bat now, click here. So that's good.
Move of the times.
Or you might have a talk show on Amazon or Alibaba. You'll be sitting there like you are in your Canada Goose jacket and your Puma tracksuit. And it'll come up, boom, buy KUGAN's jacket now.
North Weald Market.
Snide.
Snide.
Is it?
No, I bought this in Canada.
That must be real then.
Canada Goose. But do you know in Canada, the people like, I'm not obviously talking out of turn, but the homeless people had Canada Goose on.
Really? Is it not expensive out there?
I don't know. I saw homeless people with what I presumed to be homeless because they had
So you
balls.
went and bought one?
Well, I liked it.
How much was that?
£450 £500.
Lumpy, isn't it?
No, but I don't think. I think this here is about seven
Is
and
it?
a half.
It's still lumpy though. £450 for a jacket.
Is it?
Not as lumpy as Montclair. Liberty. It is that, isn't it?
I know what you give for polo tops. Didn't you buy a Tom Ford polo top for about £800?
No.
Was that Frank?
Yeah, probably. I would not spend that amount of money on a polo top. Frank would. It's in one hand out the other with Frank. He's relentless.
I think shoes and coats, could go either way.
Suits is something. I don't mind spending money on suits.
What about shoes?
Yeah, but shoes are mad money now as well. Back in the day, a pair of Gucci loafers.
£225.
Exactly. Or
Out of choice.
Or the geezer who used to bring him into Havering College. Yeah, they were snides, but they looked exactly the same. 60, 70 sheets. Now, what was it? £500-600 for a pair of Gucci loafers?
Somewhere between, well, I don't know.
500 plus.
But you used to be able to buy a pair for £225.
Oh, what's happened to the world?
Madness. What coat's that? Or gilet?
Don't know,
What was it? Good. That's got to be at least £700 or £800.
Do you know what? I bought this in the sale. That's what I do remember. It was lumpy.
But you bust out a bit of Zara sometimes.
No, I don't fit in Zara. I would. Do you know what? If I could bust out Zara, I would. But I don't get in it. The double XL is even too small. I've got about a size 40 waist, so I'm not getting in the trousers.
You're not a 40.
I'm. Bad times, mate. I'm sure I'm probably a 39.
I get a 39 there.
But if I buy 38 trousers, it's hard work. Got to lose some weight, mate. That's why I thought I'd grow a beard. Keep the chins away. You've been doing it for years.
Right. Shows coming up. Let's just quickly pin through them.
Next gen.
25th.
Yeah.
Victoria Warehouse.
Yeah, really good fight. Ritson, who was sensational, winning the British title, against Joe Murray from Manchester. Great fight. Spinning it out with Jordan Gill. Okay, so Jordan Gill, I think he's like 19-0. Featherweight, trained now by Dave Caldwell. Always been a very, very good talent. He's fighting Jason Cunningham, an eliminator for the British title, which is a really good fight. Hosea Burton, Natasha Jonas, Scott Fitzgerald, Marcus Morrison, Islam, who's a new guy we're working with. He's on the card as well. Kez Ashfaq, GB Olympic star.
Who was there the other night as well.
Making his pro debut on that card as well. Really good night of boxing. Sunday night, something a little bit different.
What time are you starting?
What, about 5 o'clock? Main event be a little bit earlier for a main event, so probably main event about 8:30.
Yeah, the cup finals on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll all be wrapped up. No, the cup final is the day before, isn't it?
Is it?
I thought it was Man United. I thought Man U and...
Arsenal, Man City.
Was it? I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, main event about
check
9:30.
You talk, I'm going to check this. Hmm. 25th, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
4:30 kickoff.
Okay, cool. So we'll be done by then. About 9:30 main event, Victoria Warehouse. Should be good fun.
And then your next show is on the 3rd of March.
Yeah, 3rd of March, Kelbrook, Rabchenko. Gamalya v Gavin McDonnell. Dave Allen against Lemuel Thomas. Come on, Dave. Commonwealth heavyweight title. Rocky Fielding, been added to that card as well. Really good all Sheffield clash. Atif Shafiq against Lee Appleyard. And then March 24th, well, the week after that, March 10th in LA, Quig Valdez for the WBO world title. Big fight. March 24th, cracker. Lucas Brown against Dillian Whyte. Buglioni against Callum Johnson. Chisora. Craig Richards back on that card as well. Looking to have Nick Webb on there. A few other fights to be added. 31st, Joshua Parker. Unified heavyweight world title. Povetkin Price.
How many tickets have you done for that so far?
We've sold all the tickets apart from the coach packages. So I think there's like a couple of thousand tickets left, which we're working with the police and the council for. They want people in and out on coaches. So again, the only way you can get there right now. Oh, there might actually, I think there's like a few £600 tickets left. But 40s, 60s, 80s, 100s, 200s, etc. all sold out. Povetkin Price, looks like Burnett's going to defend on there.
Yeah, what's the situation? Is he going to?
So he has two mandatories right now. Unfortunately, because of he had a medical exception and a unification to fight Zakyanov, we can't box both mandatories. So we're seeing which deal is the easiest to make, and then we're going to make that fight, hopefully for the Joshua card. Looking to put Crawler on as well. Eliminator for the world title. Josh Kelly, Joe Caldina as well. Boatsy, potentially. Then April 21, King Khan, Le Greco, Masha against Tommy Coyle, Fowler, Natasha Jonas, Mulcahy against Rahman for a title, and Scott Fitzgerald and Kez Ashfaq as well on that card. And then May 5th, which will be Bellew, and then building that card now.
And then we kind of stop.
April 28th, Danny Jacobs.
Yeah.
In New York.
So Jacobs is fighting this Polish.
Silecki, looks like, yeah.
So just a quick word on why Spike never happened.
I have to be careful because I get in trouble.
Okay.
So we made Spike an offer for the fight, which he accepted and his manager accepted, and he told his promoters that they wanted to accept the fight, but the promoters wouldn't allow him to take the fight. Don't know what else to tell you. Never known anything like it. Maybe I'm not as controlling as other promoters. If a fighter comes to me and says, this is an offer, I mean, it's a lot of money, I accept. You just go and make the fight, and you take your commission if it's on someone else's show, and away you go. But I think that the truth is that I think Golden Boy signed Spike to keep him there for Canelo or, you know, middleweight opponents that they need. So it didn't suit them.
Okay.
No beef.
No beef.
No, I spoke to Robert Diaz. He just said, look, he was quite honest. He sort of said, look, this is how it is. You know, we've invested in Spike and we want to keep him on our shows with our middleweights. But Silecki's a tough fight. I think 25-0, number one with the WBC. He beat Kolkai in his last fight, and he also knocked out Centino, who's number two with the WBC, who is fighting Charlo for the interim world title. So it's a proper fight.
You got Gerald Miller on the bill.
Yeah, it looks like he's fighting De Halpus, which I think Gerald Miller is the kind of perfect breakout fight for AJ in America. And I spoke to him and his team. I don't think they should fight De Halpus because he's a handful. I mean, he gave Wilder hell for 11 rounds. He's come back. He knocked out Hellenius. He took Povetkin fight at 24-hour notice, got stopped. Was it Dimitrenko he stopped as well? I mean, he's a handful. But Miller wants a real fight. And if Miller can beat De Halpus, That would be a WBA, not final, but eliminator for the world title. He could get AJ next if we don't fight Wilder.
That would be in America though.
If AJ fights Miller,
yeah,
that would be in America.
Brooklyn.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Okay.
But the plan is beat Josie Parker, win the WBO world title, then fight Wilder next. If we don't make that Wilder fight till December, we fight an interim as well. So we could go August in New York, December against Wilder.
Where Wilder? Where would you plan?
Vegas.
Vegas.
Or New York.
That wouldn't be over here though.
What?
Wilder.
I would look to do a 2-fight deal. So we do one in America, one at Wembley.
Big.
What? Not big. Fucking huge.
You ready?
Go on. Well, what's happening now?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
When everyone does their MC Academy, okay, so this is quite funny. So MC Academy, which for those who don't know, Michael Buffer's getting on a bit, still immaculate, still the man, but we're trying to bring through the next generation of MC. So we want an MC who's going to do all our shows. It's a massive opportunity. But it's quite funny because of the trolls on the internet, people are a little bit afraid to submit the MC audition. So we've been getting hundreds via DMs because they don't want to put them out. It's quite funny. But why is it that when people, and I'm guilty of this as well, when you do your MC impersonation, you put an American accent on? Have you noticed that? Ladies and gentlemen. You don't go, ladies and gentlemen, do you? Everyone seems to have an American accent.
Can you do your one now?
It will come out American, but like if I was doing you and Heavy D.
No, not Heavy D.
What? Do you not fancy this?
There's nothing in it for me.
Really? So who? So,
there's
okay.
Nothing in it for me.
Okay,
and
so
it's a bit of a joke.
So I would do.
You just agree it's a bit of a joke?
What, joke fight?
Yeah.
I don't really know a lot about Heavy D.
It's a joke fight.
Okay. What? Because you'd smash him.
It's just a joke fight.
Would you smash Heavy D in a fight?
I'd break his jaw in 9 places.
Okay. Mismatch.
There's nothing in it.
Okay.
He doesn't bring anything to the table. No, he just doesn't bring anything to the table.
No challenge for you. That's what you're saying.
I'd be
so
more
anyway,
motivated to fight you.
If I was introducing you, I'd say something like, ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of the blue corner, he comes to the ring with a record of 0-0. He stands in front of you at 6'6", fighting out of the fighting city of Wickford, Essex, England. He is the Sri Lankan Slayer, KUGAN CASSIUS. Something like that.
That's good.
Cheers, mate. But I've seen a load of MCs lately, and you've just got to get it right, haven't you? It can't be too. But I do think you've got to give it all. You know, like Bruce Buffer. You know, when he's doing the MCing for UFC, he goes literally up to the fighter's face, doesn't he? He's coming out there. Here he is from New York. Oh shit.
Oh dear. Like that, Bruce.
Yeah. Oh, coffee everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? A bit like that, really. So, if you would genuinely like to become Matchroom's new MC, we are taking in now all the auditions, right? And then the top 10 will come to Sky's HQ for a MC off. And the top 3 from there will go through and they will be mentored by Michael Buffer himself over the week, and then they will all perform at a Matchroom event, and we will select the winner, who will then become the new Matchroom Boxing MC. It's an unbelievable opportunity. We're actually getting quite a lot of existing licence holders and MCs to have a go. Well, no, we're not asking them to. They are having a go, sorry. Because it's a massive job. It's not like you're just going to do it at one show. You're going to be our MC. So give it a go. And don't be afraid of a couple of numpties online who's like, you do one and they go, oh, have you seen this, Dave? Look at this numpty. He's submitted his entry into the MC Academy. What a loser, says the bloke who's sitting at home and he's knocked 5 out that day. So yeah.
Okay.
MC Academy, get to it.
MC Academy.
You should have a go.
What?
Mate, on a serious note, you could do the job. Have a go. Submit your application.
All right.
I'll tell you something now, which again,
All right, actually, I might.
do it right. We've had a couple of fighters and ex-fighters submit
I know one of them, yeah.
applications, and like genuinely, not the one that Fowler done, he was mucking around, but people who have actually applied, and they're actually very good. It's quite interesting.
New career path. Right, have you got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just going to clean up this coffee and.
Are you going to give this away?
I have a medium Matchroom Boxing USA t-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm not giving that away.
Put that in with it.
No, I want that. Someone sent that to
You
me.
copy it.
No.
Right, what are you doing?
So,
who's going to sign that?
To win the Matchroom Boxing USA t-shirt,
Think of a hashtag.
hashtag GMTF. Hashtag GMTF. Hashtag GMTF t-shirt. Okay? If you can tell me what that stands for, you win the t-shirt. Right?
GMTF.
Yeah.
Good morning there, fella.
Oh, there you go, mate.
No, what?
Oh,
All right, GMTF.
yeah.
So they've got hashtag that and what it means.
Yeah.
And the
And
first
you win.
one?
First one wins a t-shirt.
Okay. And what will you sign? Will you write a message of their choice on there?
No, because they want to wear it. They don't want me signing it.
Could they have the option? Because otherwise it's not personalised, is it? You need to sign or put a
It's
message
nice
on
to
there.
wear in a gym. It's a nice piece of apparel.
Yeah.
It's Fight Label.
Is it really?
Yeah. See it through there.
Oh yeah. Okay. GMTF.
GMTF t-shirt.
All
Right.
right. Eddie Hearn, thank you very much for talking to iFL TV, and we will catch up with you soon.